In the world of economics, women are scarce. Nationwide, there are about 3 men for every woman majoring in economics, and this ratio has not changed for more than 20 years, and the number continues to decline when we factor in race. While Black people make up almost 13% of the U.S. population, they make up less than 3% of economic doctoral graduates, 2% of full-time professors, and less than 1% of the staff at the Fed in Washington. This may seem like a discouraging path for women, especially for women of color, but there have been trailblazers that have paved a road for generations to come. Phyllis Ann Wallace is one of these women. Phyllis Ann Wallace was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1922. Being the eldest of her siblings, her father was a craftsman and her mother was a housewife. In 1938, Phyllis graduated from the segregated Frederick Douglass High School, one of the foremost high schools in the state. She graduated top of her class with hopes to pursue higher education. Wallace was prohibited by state law from attending the then all-white University of Maryland. Even with this setback, she was determined to find a way to study economics. There was a state law in place that provided for out-of-state educational expenses for African American students whose chosen field of study was not available at local Black-only colleges. Taking advantage of this law, she enrolled at New York University studying economics, graduating magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa in 1943. Encouraged by professors, she further went on to obtain her master's and PhD in economics from Yale, becoming probably the first African American, certainly the first Black female, to receive a doctoral degree in economics from Yale. During her time at Yale, she conducted research for a defense-related federal agency, foreshadowing her future endeavors. After graduating from Yale, she then went on to join the economics faculty at Atlanta University, teaching economics for 4 years in 1953. This was only the beginning of a very successful and tumultuous career. In 1952, she left academia to take a position in the federal government as a policy analyst with the Central Intelligence Agency. There she specialized in the economic growth and development of the Soviet Union, publishing several articles on the topic. One of these articles she co-authored was featured in a 1959 edition of the American Economic Review, titled Industrial Growth in the Soviet Union. During this time, there was a shift in America. The civil rights movement shifted Wallace's focus from international economics to fighting discrimination in our country. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 led to the establishment of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission the next year. This commission was formed to combat discrimination in the workplace by enforcing legislation. In 1966, Phyllis became the new commission's chief of technical studies. As part of the EEOC, Wallace began her efforts to address discrimination by taking a new approach to social research and implementing new methodologies. Building teams of workers from different professions, she gathered lawyers, economists, and even psychologists to study individual cases. One of the landmark cases was against one of the largest private employers in the United States at the time, AT&T. She formed a team that analyzed data from the company and found that they had sexually and racially discriminated against their employees. In 1968, she left the EEOC and joined the Metropolitan Applied Research Center, or MARC, in New York City as Vice President for Research. While there, Wallace conducted research on the employment problems of urban minority youth and wrote Pathways to Work, Unemployment Among Black Teenage Females as a path-breaking book on the employment of young African American women in New York City. She changed the way data was collected and analyzed, revolving around African American women ranging from teenagers to single mothers. After her work for MARC in 1972, she was invited to take a visiting position on the faculty of the Sloan School at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where 3 years later she was awarded a full-time faculty appointment, becoming the first tenured African American woman at MIT. She continued as a professor for MIT for 11 years up to her retirement. Throughout her life, Phyllis Ann Wallace made numerous contributions to the world of economics. She wrote many books and articles, some of which were about international economics, but her most significant contributions revolved around the discrimination in the African American urban communities and the employment discriminations in the private sectors. In her book, MBAs on the Fast Track, 1989, Wallace studied MBA graduates from MIT and discovered disparities in pay based on gender as well as race. She documented trends such as commuter marriages and the concept of glass ceilings. Her work directly impacted many women and changed regulations in the workplace. She would also become the first woman and the first African American to become president of the Industrial Relations Research Association. In recognition of her many accomplishments, Wallace received honorary degrees from Pargeso University, Mount Holyoke College, Brown University, and Northeastern University. She died on January 10, 1993, in Boston, Massachusetts. Phyllis Ann Wallace was truly a pioneer in the world of economics. She paved her own way and opened many doors for women to come after. I'll end this presentation with words from one of her colleagues that knew her the best. I think of Phyllis as a scholar, activist, one of the best. I don't know exactly what impelled a young black woman named Phyllis Wallace to break through all these prejudices and these low expectations for her race or sex, or whether she felt like a pioneer, but she certainly was one.